Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to our latest historic weather video. So, a bit of a special day here at the channel. We don't normally do historic weather videos outside of sort of bank holiday Mondays and Christmas Day and whatnot. But I'm having a few days off. I thought I'd do a couple of historic videos for you, to upload through the week and just keep a little bit of interest going on the channel alongside the UK weather forecast that being done this week by my good friend Savvy. Thank you so much, Sav, for all of your hard work on the UK weather forecast this week. Thank you so much, my friend. You're doing a great job. I know you are. In my absence, I thought I'd do a couple of historic videos for you. So later on in the week, you're going to see 2019 to 2020, so kind of like covering the winter of 2019-20 to spring 2020, and then we'll stop there and we'll probably do another one for the second half of 2020 and whatnot, maybe on August bank holiday or something. But yeah, so that's coming up like a second video that you're going to see a little bit later on in the week. But for this one, we're going to be looking at 1846 to 1847. Now, I've been talking a lot about 1846 over the past weeks, especially earlier on this month. Had a warm June for a while. Early June was very, very warm indeed. Really hot start to June. And we, talked in the regular videos about how June 1846 had a central temperature of 18 Celsius. It's the only time 18 Celsius for the CET has been recorded in June. So it's the hottest June on record by far. It beats 1976, had a CET of 17 degrees by a full 1 degree. So we'll go through the charts for June 1846 to start us off. Then we'll run through the rest of the summer. And we'll carry on going all the way right way through to the winter of 1846-1847, which is a cold winter, has a very cold December. So have a really hot June and a very cold December. More about that, of course, though, later on in the video. So it's going to be quite an interesting one, I think. If you, if you enjoy the video, then please can you give us a like. Make sure you subscribe to our channel as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. And drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much to all of you. I'll say thank you so much to West Central for the historic archive of charts, and also to Trevor Harley for the information that you hear in this video. Although, to be honest, there's not a huge amount of information, so far back, such a long time ago. It isn't a huge amount of information to work with. I have got a little bit. I've got a few notes. There's my notes that I don't normally show you, but I will show you them. You see, they're quite sparse. There's very little there to work with, to be honest. So, it's going to be more a case of my interpretation of the charts combined with a few little snippets of information. I've also managed to get some information from Weather Online, not Weather Online, weatherweb.net. My friend Simon Keeling, weatherweb.net. A little bit of information has come from there as well. All of the links to all of the relevant channels, websites and channels are in the links page. Right, okay, so thank you to all of the resources for, helping this video come together, and let's see how we get on then. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge, as I say. I think this is the furthest back we've ever been, actually, in a historic video. We can only go back to 1836 within the archive at the moment. They do keep, pushing it back every year, though, so whether we'll be able to go further back than that later this year, I don't know. But at the moment, as far back as we can go, is to 1836. So, only 10 years away from the furthest back that we can go. And this is like the, the oldest historic weather video that we've ever done. This really, talking about historic weather, this really is historic weather that you are going to see now. And I don't think anybody else does this, what we do at GavsWeatherVids with these historic weather videos. So this is really pushing it, though, even for us. Right, so we'll have to see how we get on with this. Please let me know in the comments what you think. I'm going to start off on the first day of June, 1846. I have got a little bit of information for June 1846. It has a central England temperature of 18.2. It is the warmest June on record by far, as I say, over a degree hotter than June 19 76, easily the warmest within the CT record. It's the only time June has had a central temperature of 18 degrees, or more than like 17 degrees, actually. 17.0 is June 1976. And other than that, you know, June's never had a hotter CT than that, other than this month at 18.2. Trevor Hardy writes, for a full week, June 1846 was on track to surpass July 1783 as the hottest month in the CET series. Of course, now in recent years, all of those have been beaten, you know, by sort of 19 Celsius CET months. Trevor Hardy writes, extraordinarily, given June is cooler than July and August, you know, most of the time. The summer of 1846 is a fairly hot summer as well, but after this very hot June, it becomes stormy. That is all I have to work with for this. So let's see what happens then. We begin with high pressure over top of the country on the first day of June 1846, pulling in the winds from a southerly, southeasterly direction. That high pressure intensifies as we run through the first week of June 1846. Again, this is a classic hot setup with high pressure over and to the east of the country. Winds are coming in from off the continent. Upper air temperature looks very warm, don't we? Not necessarily extreme though, actually. So, I mean, I've got the plus 15 Celsius isotherm there. I've got the plus 10 up to Scotland. So, you know, that's probably giving temperatures upper 20s to around 30 degrees, something like that. But probably not excessively hot. You know, not like going into the mid-30s or upper 30 Celsius, for example. So maybe it's kind of like a month that rather than having like extreme heat spikes where we go into the high 30s, as we tend to get in more recent summers, you know, maybe it's just consistently very, very warm every day, with temperatures every day, like in the mid-upper 20s to just around 30 degree mark. Possibly it's something like that, with you know, back to sunshine every day as well. This is 5th of June, 1846. Again, the high pressure is centred over the top of the country. Upper air temperature very warm, too hot, but not excessively. So let's run through, see what happens. So again, just keep this high pressure around. It's probably like a bit of a thundering interlude going on here as we're moving into the second week of June 1846. So begin to turn a little bit cooler, wetter, windier in the northern half of the country, but still close to high pressure down in the south. Again, the upper air temperature look like that, but they've cooled down a little bit there from like the hot weather of the opening days of the month. The Azores high strengthening though as we go further on into the second week of June. This is the 12th. Again, high pressure is strengthening here to the south and southwest country from the Azores, a classic, you know, area of high pressure regime from the Azores. We may be all the way back in 1846, but the Azores high is still there. The Azores high is still the bringer of hot weather in the summer, and still the bringer of mild, wet and windy weather in the winter. And that's the case all the way back in the middle of the Victorian era. So, 13th of June, again, high pressure reaches in from off the Atlantic. If you look at upper air temperatures, they're getting hotter again down in south at plus 10 Celsius isotherm pushing through. Into the middle part of the month, we find that high pressure intensifying right over top of the country. So this looks like it's setting up a really warm to hot spell of weather once again, with plus 10 Celsius isotherm, particularly through England and Wales. Not as warm for Scotland, though, it has to be said. And that high pressure sticks anchored, rooted over top of the country as we go into the third week of June 1846. Look at the upper air temperatures. We are bringing up the 15 Celsius isotherm now, close to the south. So this is almost certainly, I would have thought, after such a long run of quite warm weather already, this would almost certainly be getting temperatures into below 30s now. I think 30, 31, 32 would definitely be achievable there in the southern half of the country, getting into 19s Fahrenheit. So really warm to hot as we go into the third week of the month. That's the 19th, again, looking like a pretty hot day. Once again, the 15 Celsius isotherm is there just to our south. Let's carry on pushing through. So high pressure, looked like it's weakening actually on 19, but it sort of reforms again and re-strengthens again over the country around the 20th, 21st. Again, 15 Celsius isotherm is to the far south, southwest. So once more, I reckon this could be lifting temperature into below 30 Celsius now, given that it's been hot and dry really consistently for the south anyway, through the past 3 weeks or more. Right to the 22nd, it looks like the ridge of high pressure is beginning to slip away to the east, so low pressure beginning to develop towards Iceland, drawing up again quite hot southerly winds, so the air is coming up from the south. I reckon this could be like a fungi breakdown beginning to take place after all of that hot weather, dry weather over the previous sort of 3 weeks. I reckon now this is beginning to edge towards like a thundery type breakdown. As we get through the 23rd, we push low pressure in, and cooler, fresher air comes sweeping in from off the Atlantic. I reckon that's like a fungi breakdown that we had there around the 22nd, followed by a cooler push of winds from the Atlantic on the 23rd. And then we're under an area of low pressure. All changed. How remarkable is that? 3 weeks of consistent high pressure gone. And we're up to 24th of June, and now we're looking a lot cooler and a lot fresher. And we carry on then into the last week of the month with low pressure in control. Very different air mass, much cooler, much fresher, with showers and longer spells of rain. If we look at the upper air temperatures, they are significantly lower with that area of low pressure. So actually the last week of June at 1846 was relatively cool and unsettled, with showers and longer spells of rain. So to get an 18 Celsius CT June, with 3 weeks that are hot and dry, but the final week that's cooler and more unsettled, just goes to show how extreme the CT must have been through those first 3 weeks, actually. Because, you know, the final week would have seen quite a reduction, I would have thought, of the CT, but to still hang on, you know, to like 18 Celsius is absolutely amazing and incredible. So what a remarkable June that was. Right, let's carry on for the rest of the summer then. So that's how the hottest June on record works out. We go through to July. Now, I have no more information about this other than the central temperature is 16.5. And Trevor Hardy implies that it is relatively warm through the rest of the summer, July and August, but there are thunderstorms. That's all I have for July, however. So let's see what happens. We start off early on in the month again, with high pressure trying to redevelop actually down to the south. So the opening days of July trying to get us back to that hot weather. We've got a ridge here building over into the east of the country. Upper air temperatures bringing back the plus 15 Celsius ice firm. So this is probably lifting temperatures back towards 30 degrees once again. Maybe even in excess of 30 degrees, but not for long. Look at this, 5th of July, low pressure comes in off the Atlantic, and that looks volatile, that looks thundery, in combination with those hot upper air temperatures. Push a 15 Celsius iceberg northward, so that again is almost certainly living temperatures around 32, 33 degrees in the southeast, probably hotter, you know, than any of the days in June. But it's only temporary, because it is also breaking down into thunderstorms, maybe quite severe thunderstorms, as this area of low pressure comes in. Much cooler and fresher by the 6th of July, 1846, with low pressure over to the north country, showers, long spells of rain, and a cool northwest wind. And then we go through the rest of the month, or into middle of the month anyway, and we're like in a westerly type flow. Again, you see the ridge from the Azores is very much there, very ridgy, this Azores high through this summer. Upper air temps again looking pretty warm down in the south, and a lot of dry weather under that ridge of high pressure as we move into the middle part of the month. Again, not for all that long though. 16th of July, low pressure coming back in from off the Atlantic. That probably brings more heavy showers, longer spells of rain, and then a much cooler blast of northwesterly winds. Look at the upper air temperatures, they look significantly warmer. Many parts of Europe has a very hot summer as well, by the way, in 1846. So we're cool, unsettled as we run into the second half of the month overall for the north anyway. For the south, always trying to get this ridge going from the Azores, but never quite pulling it off for any length of time, unlike what we did through the first 3 weeks of June. Moving to the last week of July, 1846 now, and again, we've got the ridge of high pressure from the Azores into the south. We're looking at the upper air temperature, they look quite warm once again. A little bit more unsettled up in the north. Coming into the closing days of July 1846, high pressure is taken over and is built from the Azores to Scandinavia, like a classic hot type pattern, with very close to pulling in some quite extreme heat that's over France. So looking mainly dry and very warm as we come to the closing days of July 1846. Probably quite hot as well. And then that takes us on into August, and August 1846 begins looking like that. So hot, winds are coming, or very warm anyway, possibly hot, winds coming in from the east, quite humid, and a thundery low is pushing northwards out of France. So this looks very volatile. I've got a little bit of information for this. So for August 1846, I have this. On the first day of the month, there was one of the most severe hailstorms on record. Wow, 7,000 panes of glass were destroyed in the Houses of Parliament, and the glass arcade covering Regent Street was destroyed too. The temperature in London, Greenwich, was approximately 90 Fahrenheit, 32 degrees. Violent hailstorms were widespread across the southeast that day. So we begin August 1846 on a very hot, very thundery note. Let's look at the upper air temperatures. Yeah, we pulled up 15 Celsius ice firm again into the south of France again, looking very, very hot with those upper air temperatures extending all the way down into Spain and also to North Africa as well. But volatile from this thundery trough of low pressure. Through the opening week of August 1846, we try to maintain this ridge, but it's looking very volatile, isn't it? With high pressure to our north and northwest, this thundery trough is still covering much of France. That's the upper air temperatures there. How the upper air temperatures look. They do look very warm, I have to say, and potentially quite hot down in the southern part of the country as well. Moving in towards the second week of August 1846, just beginning to go more unsettled again. A trough of low pressure then is beginning to form over top of the country. That would bring showers, if not some longer spells of rain with it, and probably a reduction in the temperature, especially so for the northern half of the country, but still trying to ridge in this area of high pressure from the Azores. You know, the Azores is still looking pretty ridgy there as we run up towards the middle of August 1846, then it looks like low pressure is trying to break through, and in the second half of the month, actually returning cooler and more unsettled with this area of low pressure. Despite a very hot and thundery start to August 1846, actually the month overall has a central temperature of 16.6, so it's not all that much difference from the 16.5 that we have in July. They are both warm months, you know, especially for this far back, when a lot of the summer months were quite cool, and sometimes even quite cold. In this era, I mean, 16.5, 16.6 in like the modern era will actually be around average, I thought. That would be like an average CT for both July and for August. But back then, back in the middle of the Victorian era, that's probably quite a warm to relatively hot a month. It would be like having a CT in the mid to upper 17s now, I think. So if we get a CT in July or August that's around like 17.5, something like that, we think we're having a very, very warm month. Back then, a CT in the mid 16s would probably be like a very warm month, to be honest. And anything in the 18s would be really extreme. That June would have been very, very extreme for this era, I think. Now we're moving into the closing days of August 1846, still trying to build in this ridge, you'll notice, from the Azores, so it's not looking too bad at all. And actually, the high pressure strengthens, so it's not just a ridge, it's an area of high pressure we have over the country as we move into the final days of August 1846, finishing this very topsy-turvy, often hot, often volatile, thundery summer on a mainly dry note with plenty of high pressure. Upper air temperatures, but not overly hot now. We've lost a 10 Celsius ice firm down to France, so it's not a particular heat wave, but ending the summer on like a very pleasant, dry and warm to very warm note. Temperatures probably into the mid 20 Celsius with that at the very least, and that's how look as we close the summer of 1846 with high pressure right over the top of the country. So again, if we look at the upper air temperatures, we can see they're not excessively hot anymore. They've cooled down, but still very pleasant under that area of high pressure. Probably cool nights, harvest sort of moon type weather, and warmed sunny days with temperatures into the low 20 Celsius. Very pleasant weather indeed. Right, so that's the start of 1846, also containing the hottest June on CT record. So far, that hasn't been beaten, and we wait for another 18 Celsius CT June. I want to pause the video there. When we come back, we're going to have a look at the autumn and then run on into the winter of 1846, which will contain a very cold and wintry December. So more about that a little bit later on. But you get yourself a cup of tea and a comfy chair and stretch your legs and whatnot. Get yourself a cup of tea and some snacks. And I shall see you back here in around 2 seconds. See you soon. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to resume our historic weather video looking at 1846 to 1847. If you're enjoying this historic weather video, please can you smash your like button, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much everybody for doing that, and drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos, be they historic or regular, or long range or whatever you like on the channel. Please drop a comment and let us know what you think. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. This video, by the way, is within the playlist for historic videos on the GavsWeatherVids YouTube homepage, so you'll be able to find this within the playlist if you want to watch it on demand whenever you want. Quite a long video, we're already 20 minutes in, so you might not be able to watch it all in one go. If you do want to watch it on demand, then check out the playlist and you'll be able to see it whenever you want. Right, in the first part of the video, we talked about the summer of 1846, containing that extraordinarily hot June with a CT of 18 degrees. We're now going to look at the autumn of 1846. Now, I have, again, very little information about this autumn. So I've got the CT numbers, and I've got a little bit of information that I've been able to get from Dr. Simon Keeling's website, weatherweb.net. Again, all the relevant links to all the websites that have helped to bring this historic video together can be found within the description. So, September. What can we say about September 1846? Not all that much, to be honest. It has a century temperature of 14.7, so it's a warm month again. Another warm month within this warm sort of mid-period of 1846. And all we have really is that from the 20th of September, we begin a period of violent gales in Ireland. May go on until 21st of November, so it's like a couple of months of stormy weather, particularly for Ireland, and that's about as much as we have. So once again, it's going to be my interpretation. I earn my keep, don't I, on these ones that are so far back and there's so little information to go with. So let's just see what we've got then and what I can come up with for you. We begin on the first day of September 1846, where August left off under a big area of high pressure at 1025 millibars. Upper temperature not excessively hot, be very pleasantly warm, plenty of sunshine, back to sunshine, and mostly dry as well. Temperatures into the low 20s Celsius with low humidity. Lovely sort of late summer weather. That high pressure continued to dominate weather rivalries right way through the first week of September 1846. Upper air temperatures actually become warmer again in the south, so probably back up into mid-20s Celsius, I would have thought. Remember, early September is often a period that has warm, dry weather, though. I've said it so many times, I don't know why they don't put the Glastonbury Festival into the first week, first weekend of September. They would be much, guaranteed much more in the way of dry and warm weather if they did that than having it like in June, to be honest, because it's one of those singularities of the weather that early September very, very often, not always, but very often, is dominated by high pressure. This is a classic sort of warm, dry start to September. Now, we're moving into the second week of September. I'm on a tangent with that. I'm so sorry, everyone. We tried to turn it a little bit more unsettled around the 8th of September. So some cloud rain into the north, mainly dry, still quite warm in the south. But that, attempt to turn it unsettled doesn't really come to much high pressure then. Just comes back in as we go into the second week of September. This is the 11th September 1846. Upper air temperatures are looking very warm, actually, at this point, with the plus 10 Celsius iceberg back up into Scotland. So this could easily be getting the temperature, despite the lateness of the year, this could easily be getting the temperature to around sort of mid-20s Celsius anyway, with loads of sunshine, possibly even hotter than that, maybe into the upper 20s Celsius, 27, 28, isn't impossible with this kind of pattern in middle of September. Just begin to draw in something a little bit cooler around the ridge if your upper air temperatures here as running to the middle part of September, just starting to lower those upper air temperatures ever so slightly. But still, it's high pressure away. This must have been a remarkably dry sort of first 2 or 3 weeks of September. 1846. Now, we're coming in towards the period where it's highlighted to start turning stormy. So we can see that the ridge is weakening. So the area of high pressure is gone. We have now got a ridge that's still there that is weakening. I think there's a weather system coming in from the north, probably bringing some showery outbreaks of rain areas. Low pressure on the 20th forming across northern parts of France. If this autumn beginning to show its hand, let's have a look. This is 21st. Doesn't look overly stormy then, but definitely turning more unsettled to both the south and to the west, with low pressure beginning to come in from off the Atlantic. The ridge of high pressure looks like it's beginning to push up towards Greenland, so starting to become a northern blocking feature. And then this looks genuinely quite wet and windy now. So we're at the 22nd of September, got a deep area of low pressure to the west of Ireland. This is beginning to bring wet and windy weather in off the Atlantic. And yeah, this is now like a proper transition into autumn with low pressure rattling in. That's another bout of wet and windy there from the 25th to the 26th of September. So again, final week of the month, all change. Much more unsettled, much cooler, much wetter, much windier, with low pressure bringing autumnal weather as we're going into the final days of September 1846 after a 3-week spell of late summer weather. Actually 4 weeks if you consider the final week of August. We are now into genuinely autumnal conditions. That takes us through to October 1846. Again, very little to work with other than we have the CET, which is 9.5. That's a little bit colder than average, although for the era, probably not too far from average, but definitely like a big cool down from September and from the summer. So finally, this is a proper genuine sort of autumnal month. And the only other thing we have to work with is that on the 20th of October, there is a violent storm in Ireland. Probably from a former tropical storm. Again, that is all we have to work with. So let's see. I'm earning my pound of flesh again, my keep again, with this one. We begin October 1846 on a wet and windy note. Low pressure coming in of the Atlantic. It looks much more autumnal, I have to say. This is proper wet and windy stuff coming in off the Atlantic here. As we go through the first week of October 1846. Gale force winds actually across the whole country there on the 7th. That's proper autumnal gale. And further wet and windy weather there from the 9th. Again, gale force winds, particularly for more southern areas, and heavy rain to the 10th. Again, looking properly wet and windy. So you see why the CT is so much lower. This is classic now. Autumnal wet and windy weather. Actually looks like a very wet start to October 1846. It's 14th. Again, another low pushing through. That will bring further bouts of wet and windy weather, heavy rain and strong winds across the country. Under a big area of low pressure there on the 15th. So showers, long spells of rain rotating around that. Not overly windy, but will certainly be very, very unsettled. That's the 17th. That's how it looks on the 17th of October. Going to be quite a few years before Gav's born, though, on the 17th of October 1977. But still looking unsettled with, again, another low pressure coming through, bring more rain from the 17th to the 18th. Wet and windy on the 19th, and then we go through into the 20th, and again we have this developing area of low pressure in off the Atlantic. It doesn't look overly stormy again, does it, that? But certainly, well, there you can see it as we get through the 21st, obviously that low develops, so yeah, that's going to bring like a stormy spell as established, probably origins of that low pressure from a tropical storm or something, as often happens in September and October. So gale force winds, heavy rain, strong winds again on the 21st. It was a very unsettled and quite cool October, I have to say. Into closing days of October 1846, a bit of a change. High pressure then starts to build over the country and ridging to our east. So as we come up towards Halloween in 1846, it's mild and mainly dry in the south, but in the north it is a little bit wetter and windier. And then we go through to November 1846. And again, with this, I have nothing to work with other than it has a central temperature of 6.9, which is quite mild, especially back in the era. So we begin November 1846 on a wet and windy note with low pressure out to the northwest, mainly dry in the southeast. Winds are coming in from a southerly southwest direction. That was a very mild start to November 1846. Let's have a look at upper air temperatures. They do look really mild, don't they, actually, down in the south. So this could probably get temperatures around 14, 15 degrees maybe across southern parts of the country. So a very mild to potentially quite warm start, actually, to 1846. That's bonfire night, how it looks on bonfire night, Guy Fawkes night, I suppose, as it would have been back then. With high pressure again to our east, and low pressure is out to west again, pulling up the wind from the south, looking very mild, with rain in the north, mainly dry in east parts of the country. Of course, these situations back then, they could have that could very quickly start fogging up in some east areas. So although it looks as though it's a very mild scenario, might actually be foggy and that kind of thing due to the air quality that it would have had in this era. Very anticyclonic as we're moving into the second week of November 1846. Again, it looks relatively mild with upper air temperatures. They will be mild, certainly not cold, but under the high pressure again, because it's November, because of the era, we might be starting to generate big fog and smog with this. So obviously that would make the temperature much, much colder than the upper air temperatures would suggest. That's always an unknown from this sort of era. Moving towards the middle part of November 1846, again, high pressure in control, so lots of dry and fine weather. I presume by this point, due to the longevity of the high, it is probably quite cold though. I would have thought this is probably really fogging up now in this era, and there'd be an inversion going on, I would have thought. So again, although the upper air temperatures look relatively mild, I reckon this is, because of the longevity of that high pressure, I reckon this is probably getting very foggy and potentially very frosty and that kind of thing. Shaking things up though as we get into the second half of the month, so the high pressure slipping away over towards Eastern Europe. In comes low pressure back from the Atlantic, so this shakes up the atmosphere, will blow away any fog, and we go into much milder, wetter and windier weather once again. I have to say, there's been no sort of teases for the winter yet, has there? I always, for a cold winter, I always look for like a tease. We have not really seen any northerly type winds or anything like that, have we, so far? So that's quite unusual. We are going to have a very cold December in a moment. We'll see that. So let's see what happens as we come to the end of November 1846. We're still looking mild, wet and windy at this point, with westerly winds and showers. But as we come in towards the closing days of the month, we begin to start raising the heights to the north. This area of low pressure begins to slip southwards. And so into the last week, look at this, the last week of November 1846, we start to pull in much colder air from the north and from the northeast. Look at upper air temperatures. All of a sudden, all of the warmth that we've had through most of the month draining away to our south and east, and colder air is beginning to plunge in from the north. And so as we go into the closing days of November 1846, we're looking much colder. Winds are in from the north. The upper air temperatures reduce a lot, pushing -5 Celsius ice firm down to the south. There's probably been some snow involved in that northeasterly, particularly for northern areas. We aimed November and autumn 1846 under an area of high pressure, looking mostly dry, but would be frosty and cold at this point. Upper air temperatures do look cold, and there'd be hard overnight frost, and that of course setting the scene for what is going to be quite a cold winter actually. Right, pause the video there, and when we return, we're going to have a look at the winter of 1846-1847. After all of that warmth and heat through the summer and into the autumn, we're going to have a really cold December with plenty of snow, and we'll have a look at how that develops in a second. I'll see you back here in 2 minutes. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the third and final part of our historic video looking at 1846 to 1847. We brought you the summer, that very, very hot June and really warm and volatile summer and autumn of 1846. Now we're going to push on to the winter of 1846-1847, which is a cold winter and includes a very cold December. How does that happen? We're going to find out right now. If you're enjoying this historic video, please can you smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. Tell friends and family to subscribe as well. Thank you so much for doing that. You know, see future web content, including historic web videos. If you do that, and drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much, everyone. Right, okay, so let's get on with the final part of this video, looking at the winter of 1846-1847. We begin December 1846 on a cold note, because we established the end of November turned much colder after a relatively mild autumn and relatively mild November. The final week of November sees a big change, something much colder, with snow in northern areas in particular, and a big drop in temperature. That carries on into the beginning of December 1846. I have got a little bit of information about this winter, by the way. So, the winter of 1846-1847 was noted for severe frost, but also heavy rains across southern England. What an unusual combination that is. The winter as a whole ranked within the top 10% of coldest winters in this long-established series. Remember, CT goes back to 1659. Rainfall using the England and Wales series doesn't appear to be extreme. December, for example, is relatively dry, but this series may not reflect local conditions. On the Southampton and Dorchester Railway, then under construction, working across the soils of the New Forest, proved to be very difficult. In a single week, a total of 13 horses became stuck in the mud and had to be destroyed. That just gives an idea of how exceptionally wet it was across some southern parts of England. And again, that is pretty much all I have to work with, to be honest, for this winter. Very little information to work with for this. So let's see how we get on. We begin December 1826 with cold winds pushing in from the north. The ridge of high pressure that was over country on the last day of November has pushed away to the northwest. It's a mid-Atlantic ridge going towards Greenland. Low pressure plunging in over Scandinavia, and winds are turning to the north. It's probably a cold front pushing southwards, bringing a band of rain, sleet and snow. Upper air temperatures don't look excessively cold, but cold air is digging in behind what I think would be quite an active cold front. Into the 2nd and 3rd of December 1846, northerly winds are pushed down across the country. Again, the upper air temperatures look pretty cold. -5 Celsius isotherm there, moving down through many parts of the country. Snow showers in the north, mainly dry, probably in the south, but frosty. That's the 4th of December 1846, under high pressure, dry, cold and frosty, and then another low so plunges into the north, probably bringing a band of rain, sleet and snow into the north, winds back into the north. Once again, upper air temps looking pretty cold across northern parts of the country in particular. December 1846 has a CET of 0.5, by the way, so it's very nearly like a negative CET December. May not happen all that often, to be honest. It's only like half a degree above being a negative month. This is December. High pressure is trying to reach the Scandinavia now, trying to pull wind in from the east. Have a look at the upper air temperature. See, cold air is beginning to push from east to west across the country on those easterly winds. Not for long, though. The high pressure back in over top of the country, turning us to dry, frosty and cold weather. Then on the 10th of December, things really get a push on as the high pressure goes zooming up to Greenland and Iceland, with northerly winds blasting in from the Arctic. And now we are starting to push in some really cold upper air temperatures, -10 Celsius Iceland, beginning to flood into Scotland. That will bring lots of heavy snow showers to the north of the country. And looking back, we're going to a real northerly blast there on the 11th of December 1846. This is a classic northerly blast with high pressure blocking around Iceland and Greenland, low pressure over Scandinavia, wind forced in from the northeast, -10 Celsius Iceland, plunging through the country. That probably brings heavy snow showers even into southern areas. Looking very cold, frosty and snowy. Ice days galore on the 12th of December 1846. Again, look at the upper air temperatures. The whole country, the whole of Northern Europe actually, is engulfed in the -10 Celsius isotherm. So, I mean, there's probably going to be lots of heavy snow showers with this. It's also an unstable northerly wind, troughs and kinks within the isobars, suggesting troughs and features, bringing more general areas of snow, maintaining that northerly wind on the 13th to the 14th of December, actually renewing the northerly, if anything, as this low pressure plunges down the North Sea. This looks very cold and wintry stuff. Upper air temperature not quite as severely cold at this point, but probably more in way of snow, actually, especially for northern and eastern areas close to this low pressure in the North Sea. The northerly goes on into the 15th of December 1846. Again, there's the upper air temperature, that -10 Celsius isotherm, plunging back into the north once again. 16th, beginning to start to raise heights towards southwest, so we're going to try and move milder air in from off the Atlantic. Of course, it's running into really cold upper air temperature. As this milder air begins to try and push in from off the Atlantic, that could turn into a snowmaker. It really is struggling, so I recommend probably outbreaks of snow moving in from the west here around the 16th, 17th of December. I think we're trying to draw in milder air off the Atlantic, probably on a weather front, but that front is struggling and probably producing a snow event, I would have thought, around this period. 18th, we finally start to break in some milder air from off the Atlantic, although again, probably accompanied by snow, especially in northern and east areas, but milder west-southwest is beginning to move in from off the Atlantic. 19th, we're into a milder push of winds from the west then. So we are now going into what is a milder intro. Look at the upper air temperatures lifting up significantly so for the south, but with cloud and outbreaks of rain. Heading up towards Christmas, we begin to get colder again. This is the eve of Christmas Eve, 23rd of December. Low pressure plunging into northern parts of France and below countries, returning wind back into the north. Once again, if you look at the upper air temperature, see cold air is beginning to return from the north once more, just in time for Christmas. That's Christmas Eve, 1846. Again, low pressure is trying to come in from off the Atlantic. I reckon this probably a snow event as this low pressure comes in from the Atlantic into that cold air. This is a snow event for the west and for the southwest on Christmas Eve, and then that pushes through, perhaps brings snow to other parts of the country. Heights rise to the west, bring mainly dry weather, but it is cold with that area of high pressure, that ridge of high pressure building in from west. So Christmas Day is probably cold, frosty. There's probably quite a bit of snow on the ground, I would have thought, and it's like a proper Dickensian sort of Christmas, as we got several of back in this era. Boxing Day, looking cold, dry, frosty, and these cold, dry, frosty conditions continue as we move up towards the new year, albeit in Scotland and Northern Ireland it's turning milder from that southwest wind, but for England and Wales, still very cold, dry, and frosty under that area of high pressure continuing into New Year's Eve. Let's move on into New Year's Day and into 1847. This is the first day of January. January 1847 has a CT of 2.2, so not as cold as December. Let's see what happens. We take the high, but still cold, you know, still a cold month. We take the high pressure up to Scandinavia. We pull wind in from the east, so we've got -5 Celsius iceberg there in the southeast, probably bringing snow showers to southeastern parts of the country, otherwise mainly dry. Then low pressure starts to come in from off the Atlantic, has a go at displacing that cold air. So as this low pressure comes into cold air, that's probably a snow event there just after New Year. Milder air then gets drawn in after, after that snow event around the 2nd and the 3rd. Milder air is being drawn in from the Atlantic, from the south-southwest. Upper air temperatures really starting to stage a recovery. Looking milder then for the rest of the first week of January 1847 before high pressure begins to reform over and to the east of the country. Now, the upper air temperatures are going to look relatively mild with this, or certainly not overly cold. But again, it's January. It's the middle of the Victorian era. We've got an area of high pressure over the continent, and we're drawing in the wind from off the continental landmass. So this is going to be very frosty and probably really foggy as well. Maybe even smogs going on at this point. Running to the middle part of January 1847, we're turning milder again as low pressure comes in from off the Atlantic. So after that coldish start, but it's quite a protracted period of milder weather. Although again, back into sort of anticyclonic conditions here into the 3rd week for a while, probably returning us to frosty, foggy weather before once again low pressure's back in off the Atlantic, turning wet and windy, but also relatively mild. Those high pressure inches must have been very cold and frosty to come away with a CET of 2.2, because otherwise we haven't seen all that much in the way of northerly or easterly winds. And like in the modern era, this would be actually really quite a mild January after a very cold December. Up to 25th of January, Burnside looking very stormy there. Gale force winds, heavy rain sweeping in from off the Atlantic. A little bit cooler with the upper air temperatures, but still not overly cold. I bet we're coming to the last days of the month again. Proper old windstorm going on there on the 26th with gale force winds sweeping in across the country, and that carries on with unsettled weather into the end of the month. Just begin to raise the heights again to our north as we go into the end of January 1847. Again, wind back in to the north once more, becoming colder as we return to month's end, with cold air beginning to dig back in across the northern half of the country. And by the closing day of January 1847, which otherwise is a relatively mildish sort of month, but with cold, frosty, foggy interludes, we finished January 1847 on a cold note, with winds in from the north again, probably bringing snow showers back to northern and eastern parts of the country, -5 Celsius firm as well through the country. And then that just takes us through to February 1847, which has a CT of 2.4, so very similar in terms of a CT to January. It's a cold month by modern standards. That would be a proper cold February. And again, have nothing more than that to work with. We begin February 1847 with high pressure blocking to our north, bringing in the wind from the east. Upper air temperature looking cold, probably snow showers across particularly eastern parts of the country there on the first day of February 1847. Go through to Candlemas Day, 2nd, and again drawing in cold air from the east. Upper air temperature not excessively cold, but certainly cold enough for snow showers across eastern parts of the country. High pressure then is in over the country on the 3rd, bringing lots of dry, frosty, cold weather. That frosty, foggy, cold weather continues to the 4th as well. And then it looks like we're beginning to get high pressure reforming back around Greenland and Iceland again as we get to the 6th. So we're going back now, after a break through January, we're going back now to the pattern that we had during December quite a lot. Again, very cold upper air temperature lurking just to the north of Scotland, about to be drawn down on that northerly wind, with the low pressure of a trough over Scandinavia, the high pressure in the middle of the North Atlantic. And so down comes this northerly blast again on the 7th of February 1847. We did not see that in January, hardly at all, but we're back into it now in February. The 7th brings very cold air in from the north, with lots of heavy snow packing into northern and eastern parts of the country. The 8th of February continues that very cold northerly, once again, upper air temperatures again have that -10 Celsius firm into the northern half of the country in particular. Very, very frosty and cold conditions. 9th looks really cold day, doesn't it, with a northerly blast all the way from Svalbard, bringing down that -10 Celsius firm into the southern part of the country, and the northerly continues to the 10th as well. Look at the whole country being covered, being engulfed by that -10 Celsius. Absolutely incredible. Beginning to bat the wings into the west on the 11th, probably bringing a weather system in from the Atlantic running into that cold air. There could be a snow event going on there as we start to try and move milder air in from off the Atlantic up to the middle of the month. Again, such a topsy-turvy winter this. Middle of the month up to Valentine's Day, 1847, we're back into mild, wet and windy weather. Once again, upper air temperatures lifting up very, very significantly. Wet, windy and mild through the middle part of February 1847. Very mild there into the second half of the month. This could be lifting temperatures into the teens Celsius potentially, particularly for southern southeastern parts of the country. Remarkable when it's so cold just a few days before this run of very mild southwesterly winds continues in towards the final week of the month, before high pressure then begins to take over again over into the east of the country, probably ending the winter of 1846, 1847 on a dry, cold, but also frosty note with high pressure over the country, and probably back to extensive fog and maybe smog under that area of high pressure. Upper air temperatures look a lot colder, so that is a proper cold area of high pressure that's built over the country and drawn the air in from the east. Mainly dry, but very cold and frosty as we end the winter of 1846, 1847. Do you want to see what happens into March? I'll just send you through there very quickly. The high pressure sticks around the country again, keeping it mainly dry, frosty and cold. Tempting to pull in some northerlies there, returning back to those northerly winds again around the 8th and the 9th. There they are, trying to dig the wind back in from the north, but this time not overly successfully. So we're into proper spring weather by the middle of March 1847. Whoops, I've gone too quickly. That's Hazard with a new PC. Yeah, we finish up like just in a showery type weather pattern. And I think at that point, that is where we're going to end this historic video. Whoops, there we go. So I hope you enjoyed it, everyone. I hope you had some fun on this one. And yeah, what a bizarre sort of period. As so often you find back in this era, wild swings, absolutely wild swings with very, very wavy jet streams, sometimes producing extremes of warmth and heat, sometimes producing extremes of cold. Despite a very cold December, this is not actually overly extreme this winter for the era, and there are several winters that are a lot colder than this. I will have to show you some of those at some point in the future. I definitely will. Okay, so that's it for this historic video. We've got one more historic video coming for you later on in the week when we're going to look at much nearer winter and nearer year 2019-2020. So we're going to go through the winter 2019-2020 and then into the spring of 2020. That will be coming up later on in the week. If you've enjoyed the video, please can you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Make sure you check out Savvy's forecast as well. Savvy's doing the UK weather forecast for me daily this week, so please check out Savvy's forecast and drop a comment on Sav's forecast. I'm sure he'd love to see what you've got to say. But for this one, that's all for now, and thank you so much for watching, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and week and whatnot. That's all for now, though. Thanks for watching.